Welcome back to the MF Customs YouTube channel. Today we're going to go over what we have done for Dan over at Neomustangs. He asked us to upgrade his original 558-128 main harness, which is commonly found on the Holley Fox body kits, the 937F, over to full coil unplug. Now, this isn't going to be a tutorial on how to do this yourself. This is just going to be an overview of what the Gen 2 harness that he mentioned is and what we did for him for the coil unplug, like how we did it, the reasons why we did things the way we did, and that this may be something that we'll be offering as a service in the near future if there is enough requests for it. We do a handful of these a year, but it's not a lot. But you know, it seems like more people are starting to pick up on it, and if there is enough feedback in the comments, we may even look at doing a full tutorial on how to do it yourself if you are interested. All right, let's go over to our other desk and we'll use the overhead camera to go over the harness. Okay, so to go over a Gen 2 kit, you get the coolant temp and the manifold air temp get switched out to Ford connectors. This is back when we still got them in blue. We put a real Ford IAC connector on these along with, hiding in here somewhere, a Fox body or SN95 TPS connector. Now, the other thing we do in these harnesses, um, we update the IAC power to use the injector power. So this way it's only on when the injectors are on, and this prevents overwear on the wearing out the IAC valve, along with it wires it more to how Ford wired the originals. Now, let's pull up his harness here. Now, of course, his harness has, the Ford MIAT, the manifold air temp, TPS, and all the standard stuff. So let me disassemble this real quick. And I apologize if this is loud. So the first thing we do is we delume the harness from the main ECU connectors all the way up to the injector connector, and up to this branch. And that is so we can redo the power in the injector harness uh, on the main harness side to a 14 gauge wire. This is just an upgrade. We go ahead and just do it while we're in here. This is so if someone wants to run a bigger injector, they can. Obviously, they still have to upgrade their actual injector harness, but at least they don't have to send the harness in again. We then add a driver side and passenger side coil connectors. Now, these are just these are the signal wires for the coils. We do not run power and ground through this connector. This is where we're way different than most. This is to allow us to run 12 gauge wire, which isn't really needed for all scenarios, but it does allow for people to run, say, like methanol fuels, where you're going to end up running your dwell times very high. So uh, we just go ahead and build these out so they're 100% ready for pretty much any scenario. The other thing we do, and the reason why we like to fix the injector wiring while we're in here, is the next part, and that is we add in, well, we replace the original coil, the relay and fuse, and we add a relay and fuse. And these are passenger side and driver side specific. And so this way, if you lose your passenger side fuse goes out, you lose your passenger side coils and injectors. This prevents you from hydrolocking the engine if you're racing and just filling it full of fuel when you don't have sparky spark. So the scenario goes for both. These are both 40 amp relays with a 40 amp fuse. We replace the fuel pump trigger wire with a 20 gauge wire. This is to prevent people from trying to run the fuel pump directly off of here. You should never do that. Even though Holly says you can run up to 10 amps, you should not do that. You should be triggering a relay, and that's why we do this part. The other thing we do is in the harness, we branch out right around roughly where this would be near the kick panel. We give you a roughly around 12 feet of 10 gauge power and ground. These go directly to the battery. This is your power and ground for your injectors and your coils. These do need to go to the battery. Outside that, that is pretty much how we do ours. There's some wiring we have to do inside the harness to fix, the IAC, because we rewire the 558 128 harnesses or any harnesses we modify back to all Ford connectors. So we have to do a little bit of changing around for that because now we're doing a shared power source, or for each injector bank side. We replace like I said, we replace the fuel pump trigger wire with just a 20 gauge green wire, and we leave plenty of extra wire in here. And that's really about it. It's fairly simple. You can do this at home. Holly does sell a kit that is already pre-terminated, has these pre-terminated as well, so you just plug it right into the ECU. The thing I don't like is they leave the injectors powered individually, and then you are required to add your own relay for just the coils. That's okay in most scenarios, but I am more of a future proofer, and this is why we do it this way. Typically, so every one of these we've done has been a little custom. So like we did this one this way for Dan over at Neomustangs. Sometimes what we do is we remove these relays and fuses from here, and we actually put them in a PDM module, power distribution module, and it's up near the ECU. So this way it's all in one little location. You can mount it to the stock bracket, and it gets everything out of the way. We did it this way because it just made more sense for his project and what he's doing with the white car. But if we do any more for him, it'll all depend on his layout. That's why we do these a little different every time for folks. But the key thing is, we use a Deutsch connector for the power and ground. Separate the driver's side and the passenger side, driver's side coils, and that's really it. There's not a ton to it. It's fairly simple. So if you got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us.